Hey, what's up, guys and gals? How are you all doing? Good? That's really good. I'm glad you're doing well. Movies are probably up there with the most popular forms of entertainment. I say up there because, well, TikTok, but movies are still up there. I love watching movies, as a lot of people do. And I feel like it's kind of assumed that if you pick a movie, it's gonna be a good one. Everyone thinks they pick a good one. Until they don't. It's really dramatic. It's not actually that deep. I literally scrolled for hours through Rotten Tomato reviews to try and find the lowest rated movies I possibly could. And this week, I watched 5 of them. Every single one of these movies score 10% or less on both the Tomatometer and the Popcornometer. Now, I didn't want to do this the easy way. So for every movie that I watch, I have to be optimistic and give it the highest rating I possibly can. I wanted to do like a Ryan Trahan thing and give an honest 5 stars.
My only rule for this challenge is I have to leave a 5-star review, but I can't lie.
But I feel like that's going to be way too hard with the way some of these movies look. I'm going to be honest with you. I like my movies good, okay? It's not a crime. So I honestly had no idea what to expect going into this movie. I didn't watch any trailers or any teasers. I only read the reviews, saw that they were bad, paid my $5 to Jeffrey Bezos, and off I went. Let's check some reviews. Emily Black says, Black Noise feels like a film where no one involved, with the exception of the cinematographer, cared much to make or to be there for. 1.5 out of 5 stars. Julian Roman says, Black Noise disappoints by not delivering a climactic payoff after better than expected rising action. We get the death, the gunplay, but no concrete answers. A befuddling finale leaves you in the lurch. 1.5 out of 5 stars again. But this movie clearly has a pretty bad rap, so let's put these reviews to the test. Alright, it's time to watch Black Noise. I'm watching it alone. I've got my water, got a candle, and I got my fluffy socks. The movie starts with a cool little action sequence of this guy running through the forest and then dying. This is never explained or talked about or referenced again at any point in the entire movie. Instantly, I'm confused. It then cuts to our main characters having a party at a beach and they get a call. They very quickly end up on this island that is totally abandoned and they have one mission. Find Mrs. Hamilton.
Mrs. Hamilton?
Keep in mind, we never know who these guys are working for and we never find out. We only hear this mysterious voice on the phone.
Yes, I heard about Venezuela. You guys did a good job.
That they never call for extraction or even advice when they're all dying. They hear the noise a few times, but not once in the entire movie is it referred to as the Black Noise, which was disappointing, but that's okay. The team argues about what the heck is going on.
Don't yell at me, huh? You fucking yell at me, fuck you!
And none of them mention the mysterious blue light that is coming from nowhere. I think it's meant to be the moonlight, I'm not sure. They decide to get a move on and they start heading through the town when they lose the guy I thought was the main character and then he dies. Like what? They almost get murked by the creature. Yeah, I did not expect this to be like a creature flick. Yes, there's creatures now, but they escape and they find a comms room. This lady gets sad but pulls herself together and then they end up in a forest trying to find the source of the noise when 2/3 of the remaining characters die. The last guy, who is actually the main character but has been the most unassuming of all of them up until this point, decides to absolutely lock in. He tracks down the creature's hideout, goes in guns blazing, kills maybe 2 or 3, and then he runs out of ammo somehow. So he pulls out another gun, kills another 2 or 3 of them, and then he runs out of ammo again. Then he proceeds to absolutely annihilate the rest of them with only his bare hands. He has a vision of his late wife.
Come with me.
But then he figures out it's another creature. Oh my god, they don't stop. These things have been popping up one at a time for about 15 minutes now. When will they stop? I have no idea. The movie finished with him on a beach, of course, and he finds a conveniently placed motorboat, and the movie ends. Honestly, this movie confused me a lot, but I don't hate it. In honest review, the plot was actually very intriguing. Each scene did kind of go on for a little too long, and I feel like they could have told more of a fleshed out story if they had just shortened some of the scenes. Some of the acting was good.
You just killed one of the richest men in the world.
Everyone shut the fuck up.
Some of the acting was not so good. But I wouldn't say at any point was it bad acting. The script was subpar at times, but overall it got the point across properly. But I gotta give this movie the best possible rating I can. Maybe I'm just easy to impress, but I'm gonna give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. So for this one, I actually had to buy a DVD from eBay. Yeah, I know, a flippin' DVD. How old am I? I watched the trailer for this one and it looks incredibly bad. I'm not gonna lie. And for this one, I've actually got a special guest, and they should be here right about. What the heck, dude? This is Cody, my brother. So Cody, before we watch Den of Lions, I'm gonna read you a couple of reviews. Is that okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So David Nusser says, nothing more than disjointed, thoroughly unpleasant piece of work. 1 out of 4.
Why is it out of 4?
Kevin Carr says, tries to be significant, but it can't stay on target. 2 out of 5. So I've been left with a lot of questions. Is the movie really that bad? What's the ranking system? Is it out of 4? Is it out of 5? I have no answers.
I don't even have any either, to be honest.
I'm actually excited to see how bad this is.
Yeah, I know nothing about it except for guns.
I actually have no idea what really happened in this movie, to be totally honest with you. I mean, I have some idea, but I feel like I'm guessing.
You're gonna have a hard time scripting this this part.
Yep.
So the movie opens in Chicago.
Chicago, the home of the Lions.
We learn that Mike is an FBI agent working undercover in the mafia, in like Budapest or something. It's never really made clear where, but it's somewhere that's not Chicago. We get introduced to the mafia family. There's a father, a daughter, and this other random guy that's in like 2 scenes in the entire movie. So the mafia and the FBI meet at a random bar by complete coincidence while Mike is undercover. How are they gonna get out of this one?
Yeah, I think.
How about those drinks?
When are you going home, Mr. FBI?
Mike punches his FBI friend to convince the mafia that
Hey, I don't run with those guys. Don't worry.
this clearly doesn't work because Mike gets accused of wearing a wire about 5 times in his hour-and-a-half movie by the same 2 people every time. Mike and this lady have a very strange relationship throughout the whole movie. It's implied very heavily that they're secretly together under the mafia boss's nose, but then later they do actually secretly get together under the mafia boss's nose. So I'm not sure what's up with them before all of that happens, but there's definitely some tension there. So Mike gets asked to bring this guy Thomas to the mafia boss's house,
I want you to bring Tomas to my house.
where the mafia boss kills Thomas, because that's what mafia bosses do. Then Mike has to hide the body for the mafia boss,
Why is it just slowing down every...
which messes him up later when the body's discovered by an old lady. At this point, Cody had to take a break.
That movie gave me diarrhea, guys.
You've gone for ages, bro.
Let's watch a movie.
So Mike's FBI partner, Ian, the guy that Mike punched earlier, rocks up to Mike's place and demands to know what side Mike is actually on. Mike shoots him. Then this lady who runs the building sees the body, so Mike chokes her out. Mike says he's leaving the mafia and he's done, and the mafia boss gives Mike one last task.
A different arrangement.
You could?
Yeah.
Get a nuclear detonator off some dudes that stole it, because that's something that happens. So he does, but then he gets ambushed by his mafia partner on the way back.
Ooh, shit.
We cut to Mike running through the life. We cut to Mike getting chased through the woods by some guys that turned up much later, by which point Mike could have probably already run away. The police rock up at the mafia boss's place when it looks like he's about to defend his house. He's like grabbing guns and stuff. He opens a window and he like yells threats at the police, and then immediately gets shot and killed. So Mike makes it back to the FBI where he's met by his colleagues as a hero. And oh, this guy's here. I thought that guy died, so do forgive me if that explanation was a little jumpy or abrupt at times. Now you know what it feels like to watch Den of Lions. Nothing really makes sense, and everything that does make sense is a bit abrupt and feels a bit strange. Never mind having random cuts like this. And weird transitions like this. Through the entire film.
They just figured out how to edit halfway through and they're just fucking playing around with effects.
So with that being said, I do have to give the best rating I can. The plot was almost incoherent. If I hadn't read the synopsis before watching this, I'd have no idea what was going on. The acting was fine, the editing was just shy of amateur. I know I'm being a bit mean, but for a movie that wasn't just homemade, not all that great. But my brother and I had a very fun time laughing at having no idea what was going on. So I'm going to give this movie 3 out of 5 stars. So going into this film, I kind of expected like a Adam Sandler murder mystery type of thing. It said this movie was a mystery/comedy. Let's see the reviews. Archie Sengupta says, this whodunit comedy tries its hand at everything in order to make something stick. 1 out of 5. Juan Pablo Russo says, unfortunately, Invitation to Murder, the film's Spanish title, fails to create a satisfying set of meaningful clues, and its rushed resolution undermines the opportunity for viewers to become involved in the investigation. 5 out of 10. I'm still not sure why some are out of 5 and some are out of 10, some are out of 4, but I'm interested to see if the reviews are accurate or not. So let's go watch a movie. So the movie starts with a bunch of people getting an invitation. We get introduced to Agatha, who is a true crime podcaster who is very obviously going to be the Hercule Poirot of this film because her name's Agatha. Like Agatha Christie. She spawns in at what I think is her sister's house. She walks around a bit and gets caught trying to listen in on a conversation. We get very creatively introduced to the rest of the characters with Agatha walking into different rooms. They go to a yacht and we get introduced to Agatha's sister, Olivia. When the housekeeper/waiter/boat driver/ominous side character Gustavo spills drinks all over the floor and gets his ass hauled back to shore. They have a dinner party and they find out they actually all have motive to kill each other or an opportunity to make amends. Agatha goes outside for a ciggy and gets caught trying to listen in on a conversation. Again, Olivia falls from the top deck and flippin' dies. And that's death number 1. There's actually only 1 death. I don't know why I numbered that. At this point, my screen recording stopped working, so you're stuck with me. Sorry, I'll be quick. They're all forced to hang out at the house, and Naram, the yoga dude, gets frickin' shot. And Agatha and one of the police guys start interviewing people. Agatha somehow gets let out to go call her partner and tells her everything about an ongoing investigation, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Agatha goes back to the yacht a little bit later and finds Feig rummaging through a bunch of drawers like a sussy little boy, and she finds out that Olivia had a bunch of meds and a bunch of death certificates for some reason. It very abruptly cuts to Agatha sitting everyone down so she can reveal what she's concluded is what truly happened. This part was a little strange because it was kind of just randomly out of the blue like, okay, we're gonna tell you what happened now. I don't want to spoil the reveal too much, but basically Christina and Carlos were working together at Carlos's hospital to steal babies and make a bunch of money, which is awful. They discover that it was Christina that shot Naram because Agatha planted hidden cameras around the house and they caught her on video. Carlos and Christina leave the room and then very shortly after try and escape on the yacht. But now because Olivia died, Agatha owns it, and Gustavo, that guy from earlier that spilled the drinks, planted an explosive in the engine room. Agatha asks Naram to do the honors and blow that CGI boat to absolute pieces. And what follows is the most underwhelming explosion I've ever seen. They hold a little funeral on the beach for their lost loved ones. It was sweet for about 10 seconds until this movie star character is all like, I gotta go, I got a movie to star in. And then most of them just immediately leave. Crazy thing to do at a funeral, but anyway, that's pretty much how the movie ends. Sorry for that super long run through. So did the movie live up to my expectations? Or the reviews? I honestly don't think it was that bad of a movie, certainly not a 7%. It did have a couple of parts that either felt unnecessary or just felt like they could have done them better, but all in all, it was pretty good. I do think the first half an hour was a little on the nose. I feel like this is all really on the nose, but at the same time, it's so obscure. And I don't think a single part of the movie stood out to me as a comedy, but the movie overall was pretty well paced and well structured for being only an hour and a half long. So my final review, 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm back here on the couch without Cody this time to watch Tomorrow You're Gone. It's got Willem Dafoe in it, so you'd think it would be good, but apparently it's really not. So I don't have names for these ones. For some reason, they just weren't coming up. So we've got blank, says 0.5 stars, this is just plain awful. And he gave it, you guessed it, 0.5 stars. Total crap, made no sense, and the director must have been high. Another 0.5 stars. A boring noir movie that goes nowhere slowly. 1.5 stars. So yeah, I'm ready for the next hour and a half of my life to be the most boring, menial thing that I've ever done. So, funny thing, I think I actually found it. I think I actually found the worst movie I've ever seen. I hate to be too cynical, but I watched 3/4 of this movie and I have no idea what happened. No. I've watched 59.5 minutes of this movie.
Here it is almost as crazy as there.
And I have no clue what is going on. I hate to do this. I'm actually going to rage quit this one. This is where I draw the line. This is apparently an action movie, but there was probably like 1 or 2 scenes of actual action. I fell asleep for like 5-10 minutes and I woke up to them doing almost exactly the same thing. The rest of it just kind of felt like a strange rom-com between these two.
Come on, I don't want to go alone.
And to top it all off, I could not hear a single thing anyone was saying.
You must not be a very good friend with the looks of
I don't know if it was just the video I was watching or if that's the actual movie's audio, but holy moly. I don't really have a plot to explain because I actually have no idea what was going on. But if you really want to know, just have a look on like Wikipedia or something. I know I have to give this movie the best rating I can. I'm sorry. 1 out of 5 is the best I can do. 1:30 a.m. and I'm here to watch Stranded. This is apparently a space movie, and by the looks of it, not a very good one. So I'm just going to read you some of the reviews here. These are probably the wildest reviews that we've got on any of these movies. I've got 3 screenshots worth of reviews. For reference, the others, I only had like 1, maybe 1.5. So starting off with Mike D'Angelo, he says, "Alas, Stranded isn't a for the ages howler, just a terminally stupid, monotonously unimaginative rehash of umpteen space horror classics. 1.5 out of 5 stars. Next one, we've got Mike McGranahan. We've got Mike. Stranded doesn't tell a story so much as it just presents a series of sequential events. 1 out of 4. We've got Elizabeth Weitzman, who says, "Sometimes an earnest, easily forgettable B-movie is just what you're looking for, but rarely do you feel like spending $12 to see it, especially when that appears to also be the film's entire budget." Anyway, we're going to get into the movie now. Going into this really quick, I haven't watched any trailers or watched any clips at all. I just know it's got this big actor, William Slater, I think. Apparently he's been in a few bigger movies. That's not this one. My snack of choice for this part of the video is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. It's one of the only American treats that I can get here in Australia. So the movie opens on a moon base getting absolutely blasted by a meteor shower. The crew on the moon base is trying their best to survive, but they're losing power and oxygen. I thought this was just like the opening action sequence of the movie and it would like backtrack a little bit, but no, we get dropped straight into the action, which is sick. So Ava picks up a strange rock with a little spore on it, which is obviously an awful idea. Even more so when Commander Gerard says,
"Talking about some kind of spore. That sounds like a foreign contagion."
In case it wasn't clear enough. They make a big deal out of CO2 levels being not good.
CO is odorless, it's colorless, it's tasteless, visual disturbances, and death.
And they bring this up a couple of times in the movie, and it never really seems integral to the plot. Anyway, they crack open the rock, also an awful idea, and discover that it's basically an organism that can mutate and develop 100 times faster than human cells can. Ava cuts her finger on a test tube with the spores in it, even though she didn't need to touch it. Ava gets infected and ends up giving birth to this creature.
The creature was feeding on my breast.
That eventually transforms itself into Bruce, the engineer guy. The creature ends up killing Bruce and the doctor called Lance, both deaths of which I cannot show on YouTube because they are crazy gruesome. Ooh, yikes. Don't think I can show that on YouTube. But Ava and Gerard figure out a plan to escape on the last escape pod.
How long does it take to prep the pod?
Too long. We only have one shot at it.
Which would have worked perfectly if they hadn't kept a pretty big plot point secret until now. The creature pretty much knows where Ava is at all times and can sense what she's thinking because she gave birth to it. This works vice versa, but it's definitely more inconvenient for Gerard and Ava. But things end up going horrifically wrong when the creature ends up getting on the escape pod, leaving Ava and Gerard behind. They have 17 minutes of oxygen left, but luckily, right as they're about to give up hope, a rescue ship comes to take them back to Earth. The movie ends with a big reveal that the creature actually did make it back to Earth.
Whatever comes out of that pod, kill it.
And it kind of sets it up for a second movie, which never happened. So what are my thoughts on our final movie? Actually, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. The reviews have definitely been proven wrong. There was a lot of filler, and it did feel a slight bit tedious at times. But for a movie with such a low rating and such bad reviews, I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. The characters had decent development, until half of them died, but the acting was good. So my final rating, 4 out of 5 stars. So that's some of the worst rated movies that I could find. If you stuck around this long, it means you must enjoy the video. So you should like and subscribe. I don't actually think any of the movies were really that bad. None of the reviews really turned out to be that accurate, except Tomorrow When You're Gone. That one's just... in the bin. I think this has been a perfect example of how everyone interprets art differently. No two people will look at the same piece of art and see it in exactly the same way. And that's a beautiful thing. In full transparency, it was hard to sometimes find the effort to sit down and watch these movies in full. Some of the days or nights that I set aside to record, the last thing I wanted to do was intentionally watch a bad movie. But honestly, not once did I not enjoy them, except for Tomorrow You're Gone. No, these aren't Hollywood blockbuster hits, but they're unique and special to at least a handful of people regardless. The cast, the crew, the writers, the director. For some of these movies, making it may have been someone's dream come true, and I'm just grateful that I got to be there for some of that dream. I'll see you in the next one. Love you.